everyone. I wanted to do a quick video, because I got an email from a client yesterday that was struggling with a particular situation that we all struggle with. And in fact, I even had a very similar situation recently, so I thought we could all benefit from this. So the situation was that she had some family members that had come and visited her down in Mexico. And while they were there, she was really generous and kind and letting them use whatever they needed: bicycles, paddle boards, kiting gear, their car. She would invite them to be out with all of their friends. She was really welcoming and generous with them. And I need to add that she has a little bit of difficulty with one of the people. So it was her sibling and their partner. And the partner she has a little bit of a challenge with. So she was really putting some effort into being generous with them. And she felt a little bit snubbed in the end, that they didn't really appreciate so much all of the effort that she had gone to and how generous she had been. And so this thought kept arising in her that she was very mindful of, I will say. She understood that she didn't want to keep fueling it, so she was doing her loving kindness practice, which is a great practice to do. But still the thought was there, and she was obviously feeling a little bit challenged with it because she emailed me about it. And I had a situation just very recently, the same thing, and so I thought I would share this as well. So the thing that we want to be careful of is that little voice when it starts up. Because remember, that little voice thinks that it's giving us good advice. It thinks that in some way it's trying to control the situation, trying to protect us in the future. And this is why we get caught up in that fantasy of, well, the next time if they ask me to do this, I'm going to say this and I'm not going to do it. And wow, won't they be surprised when I'm not doing this for them anymore? And so we're running through this scenario again and again, thinking that in some way we are doing something to prevent it happening again in the future. But what we're really doing is rewiring our brain to be stingy and miserly. Because whatever you're thinking about, your brain will start to lay down neural pathways for that. So even just imagining a scenario in the future about being stingy and miserly means that we are starting to become stingy and miserly, and that is not what we want to do. We don't want to let a few bad apples we don't want to let a few bad apples change who we are, turn us into someone that we're not. Because the fact is, there are going to be people that don't thank us in the way that we were hoping that they would, or that, quite frankly, even take advantage of us. But by playing that scenario out again and again, we're really causing a lot of damage and harm to ourselves. And this doesn't mean that in the future, if someone who didn't, let's say, didn't thank me appropriately, or even maybe took a little bit of advantage of me, that in the future, if I was asked to do something again, that I wouldn't respond differently. Of course I would, because the situation has changed now. But trusting that in that present moment, you'll know how to respond, still with kindness, but maybe they ask you to do something for them and you say, I'm sorry, I don't have the time for that right now. And not getting caught up in well, I wonder what they're thinking now that I've said that. Like not letting the little voice go again, but just trusting that, they didn't, it's not a reciprocal relationship, and I'm not feeling good about our relationship anymore, and so trusting that in the present moment we'll be able to handle it. But in the meantime, when we're dealing with having that thought arise, and I have found that it's hard to stop the first thought arising, that it kind of comes up, you're thinking like, wow, I never got an email back with a thank you for whatever it was I just sent to them. And so, of course, it comes up. We think about it for a moment. But that's where we do have the power then to decide whether we are going to feel the story or whether we're going to let it go. And this is where our mindfulness practice is so important, that bringing that awareness to what's going on, acknowledging like, yeah, there's the story. There's the story that she didn't thank me. And there's the feeling that's associated with the story. I'm feeling tense and tight, and I'm feeling like I'm threatened, and my stomach doesn't feel good. Like really starting to associate the thought and the feeling like, wow, this is what it's doing to me. This is what reliving this story is doing to me. It's making me feel bad now. It's stressing me out. And then using investigation, the question that I always give to everyone that's on our mindfulness bracelets, is it useful, right? Is this helpful? And then thinking about it in this context, well, whatever I'm thinking about, I'm rewiring my brain for that. So I want to be careful about what thoughts are running around in my brain. Do I want to become a miserly person? Do I want to become an ungenerous and unkind person? No, that is not who I want to become. And so then we always come back into the present moment, and I like to use the breath, right? Taking some deep breaths, coming back into the present moment, kind of breaking that trance of the thought. And we may have to do that several times, but each time we do it, we're rewiring our brain to realize we have a choice after that first thought. And so to trust that more, trust the process of being mindful, trust the process that we will be present in the future, we won't forget what happened, and we may respond differently. And that's appropriate then. But be careful of what we're doing in this moment, because this little voice, we will just keep fueling it, and the more fuel that we give it, the more power it has over us. So we want to be really careful about that. Oh, and there's Bear's little voice. It just got him to wake up right now. That's my dog. So anyway, so I hope that this was helpful for you, and that you have a little bit better understanding about what's happening when we're fueling these stories. It's that little voice, the worst life coach ever, remember? And so to remember what we're doing in our brain when we're reliving those scenarios, and that we have our practices, we have our mindfulness practice as the way to break ourselves out of the trance of thought, so that we don't turn into someone we don't want to be. So I hope that this video was helpful, and if so, please leave a comment. I would love to hear if you've had a similar situation. And I'm going to try and do some more videos like this, so if you would also subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate that as well. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and